Welcome to another edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up. During this program, we will highlight the agenda items presented to the Lakeville City Council at their October 16th, 2017 meeting. First highlighted item on the agenda is item number 5, Finance Department Update. And to provide the background information on this agenda item is Finance Director Geraldine Erickson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. So it's been a little bit over a year since I had a presentation on an update for our department. So some of the things you'll see are familiar from last year. There's a lot of items that we do recurring from year to year. I do have a presentation here. Okay. First of all, we completed our 2016 audit, excuse me. Just wanted to note that we actually are the fiscal agent for a number of entities, and the council probably is aware of them, but the public may not be. We're the fiscal agent for the Fire Relief Association, the Dakota Communications Center, and the Lakeville Arenas, and we completed those audits for all 4 entities. We also issued an RFP last fall for new auditors for the city and the Fire Relief Association. So that was a new experience going through the audit with new auditors, and that went very well. We also, in addition to doing the annual audit, we issue quarterly reports and monthly reports for these entities as well. Some completed projects. Earlier this year, we issued about $10.2 million in bonds for the 2017 Street Reconstruction Program, and the Holyoke Improvement Program, and the Launch Park improvements. We maintained a AA1 bond rating, so we maintained the rating that we've had for many, many years. And we also refunded the 2007 H Street Recon bonds and realized a net present value benefit of about $219,000. Some current projects that we're working on. The 2017 HRA lease revenue refunding bonds. We had a rating call about 2 weeks ago and maintained our AA3 bond rating for the lease revenue bonds. It's typically about 2 notches less than a GO bond rating. And we are estimating that we will have a savings of approximately $332,000. We will know more later this week. In addition, we are working on the 2018 budget. We've had a number of work session discussions to address 2018 budget. In fact, on Monday night, we will talk about the utility funds and the liquor fund, and then later in November, we will come back and visit the tax levy and the general fund and so forth. And this evening, we have a public hearing, and we are anticipating that the council will adopt the 2018-2022 capital improvement program. A couple months ago, the council awarded a contract to Payment Service Network, PSN, for implementing a new online utility billing portal that will enable residents to access their utility bills online, to sign up for e-bills, also to have a number of payment options, credit card payments, e-check. They still have to come in person for cash, though. We do anticipate that going live in about December. We are working with our communications division to make sure that we get sufficient communication to the public on the process, the timing, and so forth. And residents and businesses will have to register for the e-bills as well as signing up for the ACH payments, the automatic payments. Even though residents may be signed up for ACH right now, they will have to re-register and sign up for automatic payments. And I'm encouraging all of the council members to sign up for the automatic payments. I'm thinking we should make that a requirement.
I think we might. You're in pretty good hands.
Is that because I was delinquent?
Staff is also working on what we call our equipment replacement program. As part of the CIP program, we were discussing our equipment replacement philosophy and so forth. Our IT manager, Ralph Vetter, is the project manager on this particular implementation. So he's working with Public Works and Public Safety departments to implement the new cartograph software. And excuse me, I want to be able to document that plan and the replacement philosophy and so forth, kind of memorialize that in a document so that when we go through the CIP process each year, that we know what our philosophy is as an organization on how and when we buy and replace vehicles, how they might move. They have a primary use and they move to a secondary use within the organization and so forth. So it's memorialized in a document. Staff is also implementing purchasing cards. That's the P card, the credit card for various staff members. That was also approved, the process as part of the purchasing policy about a year and a half ago. And then we're undergoing a utility rate study. The council authorized a contract with Northland Securities to undertake that utility rate study. At the end of November, we anticipate coming back to council with some information. They are looking at a number of things. Let me just pull this up here. Preparing a model, an Excel model for us to use going forward, where we can drop in our assumptions for improvements and rates and so forth, activity, volume, consumption, and it will be a great tool to have for the council going forward. In addition, we will look at rate structures. You know, currently we have 3 tiers for residential and so forth, but this model and this study will lay out some options for the council to consider about the structure, the frequency of billing. Right now we're on a quarterly basis for the majority of the accounts. Maybe we want to consider going to a bi-monthly or a monthly and what the impacts of that might be. One thing I didn't mention when I was talking about the utility billing portal, when we're looking at having residents sign up for the e-bills and so forth, one of the things we do recognize is that there might be a lot of seniors or individuals that don't have access to a computer, but yet we want to encourage perhaps the automatic payments for their bills. And so we're going to be working with the Heritage Center to have some outreach with the seniors, maybe a day or 2 to have them come in and work with staff to get them signed up for some of those services. The city's undergoing a sales tax audit for both the city and the DCC. We're going through the process for certifying our delinquent utilities, and that's an annual process. And of course, with the 2017 special assessments that were adopted earlier this year, just a reminder that for the street recon project, as well as the Holyoke improvement project, that you have until November 15th to pay off your assessment without interest. So that's the 1702 and the 1704 projects. Then the first installment for those assessments will be in 2018. Future projects will be looking at the debt service strategy. Again, looking at, what are those metrics that we want to consider, the per capita, per household, perhaps a percentage of the overall levy, a percentage of the tax base, and so forth. A lot of different options to consider. Our accounts receivable software, expanding the use of that, and RFPs that we, according to our schedule from about a year ago that we established with the council and with Administrator Miller, that we would be considering going out for RFP for our bond counsel, our municipal advisor, and also for banking services. This chart shows the change in the number of utility customers, utility accounts since 2013, and it's increased from about 18,400 to about 20,200, so about 1,800 increase, which is about a 10% increase over the last 4 years. And also just a breakdown of the types of payments that we're receiving from our utility customers. About 14% are signed up for the ACH, the automatic payment that comes out of your checking account. And it has increased from about 14% to 28% for those customers that are paying by the online bill pay when you go through your bank. And we've seen a slight increase in the credit card from 3% to 8%. We do anticipate that going up considerably since the council did approve waiving or not charging the customer credit card fees, that the city will absorb those fees. And then finally, about 50% are still paying with check or cash. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 8, public hearing on proposed assessments for city code violations. And to give the background information on this agenda item is Planning Director Darrell Morey.
This is our annual assessment of unpaid code enforcement bills, code enforcement fees. We do this time of year every year. Unfortunately, we do have a number of them that we have before you this evening. I do want to explain briefly the revision that you received regarding the total number of properties that are included in the list and the change in the assessment amount, the total assessment amount. I did speak with, on Friday afternoon and then again this morning, a couple of the property owners that were on the list who had questions and had intended to attend tonight's city council meeting. We worked through those issues with the two property owners. One was a particular case that there was in the transition between our contract code enforcement employee leaving last December and our new full-time staff member who came on this past April. There was some disconnect, and that was an error on our part, so we are, that charge was in error, so we are waiving that one, so that one's no longer on the books. Another one was a situation where there was working with a property owner where there could have been a little bit better communication. There was some extenuating circumstances on the property owner's part in terms of why he didn't contact staff earlier. We had, I think, a good, fairly long discussion about the need, if this were to happen in the future, to contact staff earlier. And so again, given the extenuating circumstances, we took that one off the books as well. I also was informed by finance that there are some that have paid, and again, pending the clearance of their payment, the list would get a little bit shorter as well, which is what we like to see when this goes out. So hopefully as this, we continue to do these, our communication can improve, and we can, in the future, have a list that's shorter. So we're looking for ways to improve this situation, and having a full-time code enforcement staff person, I think, will help greatly in that regard. So you do have the resolution before you this evening, the updated list that staff is recommending approval. And before I turn it over, I would like to thank the Assistant Finance Director, Julie Werner, for her work on this. Even though her name is listed second on the report, she did most of the work. I'm just the on-air personality.
Item number 8 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Next highlighted item on the agenda was item number 9, public hearing on the proposed adoption of a 5-year capital improvement plan. And once again, to provide the background information on this agenda item is Finance Director Geraldine Erickson.
Thank you again. So this is the culmination of quite a few months of work by city staff and meetings with the city council. So my thanks to all of the department heads and their staff that have contributed to this process. There's a lot of details that go into it, as you know. We have various plans. We have equipment plans, facilities plan, utilities, natural resources, parks. So quite a few plans that the staff works on, as well as discussing that with the city council. So we bring it to you this evening for a public hearing to consider adopting the 5-year capital improvement program, as well as the 5-year street reconstruction program. The changes, excuse me, a couple of changes have been made since you saw the document in September, and they were based on the council direction to move some facilities out a year, or to not use bonds as a proceeds, the bond proceeds, to finance it. We corrected the charts and tables based on those changes. And we also made a few other changes to make some corrections in the debt charts and some narrative changes to make it more accurate. So the document before you tonight includes all of those changes that have been discussed over the last 3 or 4 months. There's also 2 resolutions, one declaring the official intent of the city to potentially issue debt, and that's an IRS requirement. It doesn't obligate the city council to actually issue debt for any of those projects, but it allows us the flexibility to do so. And then finally, as part of the discussion for funding the equipment plan, we had discussed transferring $500,000 from the general fund, from anticipated surplus funds in the general fund to the equipment fund to fund long-term capital purchases. So that is the fourth resolution before you tonight. With that, if you have any questions regarding the CIP document, we have a number of staff here, department heads, that can also answer some questions about the specifics.
Item number 9 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Next highlighted item on the agenda was item number 10, resolution approving feasibility report and calling public hearing for the 2018 street reconstruction project. And to give the background information regarding this agenda item is Public Works Director Chris Petrie.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My pleasure to be here with you, and if I could have the presentation brought up, please. All right, here we go, and we'll just go through this. The next two items on your agenda are very similar, however, different projects, different scopes of work, so we'll just jump right into it, I hope. Let me see if I can advance the slides at all. Oop. There we go. Okay, so this is our 2018 street reconstruction project area. As you can see, the project is mostly east of Ipava Avenue, north and south of 175th, and the maps are kind of hard to see, so let me start with the map on the left. The map on the left side is, you'll see the Crystal Lake Education Center, Hosanna Church, and kind of the upper left corner of the map to give you a bearing, County Road 46 on the north. So the streets highlighted in red are the areas proposed to be reconstructed in 2018. And then if you move to the map on your right side, you can see, again, some of the streets. What we see there, that main intersection that's right in the middle, is 175th Street in Ipava. So that's Christina Huddleston Elementary, that building that's right there. So that gives you a little bearing on where these are located. So as we worked our way through the feasibility report, the estimated project cost is $8,881,499. Of that, you can see the breakout of the funding sources. City CIP funds is a little over $4.5 million. Utility funds, that's the water and sanitary sewer work that's involved, that's about $1.15 million. Environmental resources funds, this is for some pond cleaning and also some installation of some water quality manholes, is about $150,000, and then special assessments is just a little bit more than $3 million. I would note that in the CIP that we just brought before you, and the amount we had budgeted was about $9.3 million, I believe, so our estimates are coming out under the budgeted amount. So we get into the estimated assessments based on the number of properties, and the estimated assessment is at $4,341 per single family unit. It's important, as we always like to note, commercial or public use properties are calculated on a residential unit equivalent. So we have a number of different commercial properties. We have a golf course, we have some other things, as well as some parkland, and that's how those properties are calculated. So now moving forward, project schedule. Of course, we're here tonight asking the council to receive the feasibility report and set the public hearing date. The project public hearing date and ordering the project, we would be looking at that for right before the Thanksgiving holiday on November 20th at your regular meeting. We then work over the course of the winter to develop plans and specifications, advertise for bids, and ultimately open bids and compute assessments on March 2nd of 2018. We then declare the costs and set an assessment hearing at your second meeting in March of 2018, followed by an assessment hearing in April of 2018, and also at that same meeting, assuming the council decides to move forward, we'd be awarding the construction contract. As we have in years past, construction beginning April, May, weather dependent, road restrictions, all those sorts of things, and then completing the work by November of 2018, and then certifying assessments in November of 2018. With that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions, but the next steps that the staff is looking for is for the council to accept the feasibility report and set the public hearing date for this project for November 20th of 2017.
Item number 10 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Next highlighted item on the agenda was item number 11, resolution approving feasibility report and calling public hearing for the 2018 Kenrick Avenue reconstruction project. And once again, to provide the background information on this agenda item is Public Works Director Chris Petrie.
So this is very similar to the last presentation you saw. However, the project itself is different, as well as the estimated amount of improvements. But I'm going to start right away. This is the Kenrick Avenue Improvement Project. And let's start on the map on the right side, actually, of your screen. What you'll see is the very southerly part of the project starts about at where we would expect 173rd. It's the southerly kind of property boundary of some of the Fleet Farm, or their southerly access. As you work your way north, you can hop over to the screen on the left side, or the photo on the left side, and it extends north all the way to the border with the city of Burnsville. So what's involved in that project? It's very similar to our street reconstruction projects. However, what I will say about this, it's a complete pavement reclamation. We would also be replacing all of the curb and gutter, however, in this particular segment of road, unlike what our new process has been the last few years in street reconstruction, where we do spot curb and gutter replacement. We've done our inspections and our evaluations along Kenrick Avenue and recognize that to facilitate stormwater enhancements and some of the other things, we're going to need to replace all of the concrete curb and gutter along the whole stretch. So that pavement reclamation, some water main improvements, other things are what's contained in that scope of work. The estimated costs are just under $3 million at $2.961 million. Our estimate when we budgeted for this, as I talked about our street recon to give the council an idea, was just over $3 million, just a little bit under $3.1 million. So again, our feasibility report is coming under the budgeted amount. The breakdown of funds, you can see the city CIP funds at $2.154 million. Utility funds, again, water, sanitary, sewer at $227,000. And then special assessments are estimated at $578,000. What that means is estimated assessments are, because of all the commercial property through there, are at a front foot basis instead of a single family unit basis, of course. And they're estimated at $77.44 per front foot. Again, as I just stated, all commercial and public properties are assessed on a front foot basis along Kenrick Avenue. Again, project schedule, I won't go through in detail because this matches up exactly, and we want to stay on the same project schedule. To Councilmember Hellier's point, our goal is to get this wrapped up and out for bid at the end of January, early February, so that we can open bids in early March, which typically puts us in a very good position for getting very favorable bids, or at least it has the last number of years. So we'd be on the same schedule. The one thing that I would like to draw your attention to, the only thing that's really different on this schedule is the construction timeline, and you'll see on there it says June 2018 to November 2018, and the reason for that is we did hold a neighborhood meeting earlier this summer with the affected property owners, and we had a number of property owners. We had representatives from Fleet Farm, Moto Primo, Leo South, and then also kind of a verbal from Twin City Harley-Davidson. It was interesting because all of them talked about the concern if we would start construction in April or May. Ultimately, and through June is their busiest time of year for all of them, which makes a lot of sense, even makes sense for Fleet Farm. So they had requested if it would be possible to start the project later. That would really reduce the impacts to their business, and we think we can accommodate that and not have an effect on our prices. More than anything, if we get out to bid at the appropriate time, it shouldn't affect that. So that's what you see there for the construction timeline, to kind of align with what their requests were. So with that, similar to the last presentation, happy to answer any questions, but looking for the council to accept the feasibility report and set the public hearing date for November 20th, 2017.
Item number 11 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Well, those were the highlighted items presented to the council at their October 16th, 2017 meeting. If you have any questions or comments regarding these agenda items, please feel free to call City Hall. The number is 952-985-4400. Thanks for watching this edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up.